I had a dream one night. I went inside a large room in a building and saw all of my extended family there. They all had a serious look on their faces, so I just sat on the chair quietly. A moment later, Grandma came inside. She came to me crying, telling me that everyone is ignoring her. I got upset. I grabbed Grandma's hand and went through the crowd, telling everyone that Grandma is here. No one listened. Grandma got very upset and told me that she's leaving. Then my uncle, who up until that moment was just sitting on the chair ignoring Grandma, told me to see her off. I was confused, but I went outside with Grandma anyways. I walked Grandma to the elevator. The elevator had a distinct look, unlike any other elevators I've ever seen. It just had some kind of a light bulb on top of the metal door. The elevator door opened, and I followed Grandma inside. Grandma angrily pushed me back, saying, "Where do you think you're going?" She looked really mad, so I ended up letting her inside the elevator alone. That was the end of my dream. It was such a strange dream. I don't usually have dreams, and the rare times that I do, I don't remember much of it. I can remember every single detail on this one. The real strange part of this story comes a week after I had this dream. Grandma passed away and was to be cremated per her will. The door of the crematorium they were putting Grandma's coffin in looked exactly the same as the elevator door from that dream. I decided to go on a trip for a long weekend. I got to the airport and was about to buy the ticket when I got a phone call. My uncle had passed away. So much for the trip. Uncle lived not too far from the airport, so it wasn't long before I got there to see his family. I was the first one to arrive. My parents came within the next hour. When they got there though, Mom told me a strange story. She was taking a nap earlier that day and had a dream where I told her I'm going out of town for a few days and left, just to come back moments later. When she asked why I was back so soon, I told her this. I came back because something bad happened. The phone rang and woke her up from that dream. It was the phone call that notified her of Uncle's passing. I was coming back home from a night out with friends. It was nearing midnight, so there weren't that many people on the bus. I fell asleep and had a moment of sleep terror. You know, the ones where you're awake but can't move. It happens regularly with me, so I wasn't too concerned about it. You just try to move around until you eventually do, and that's that. So I did, starting with the part of the body that I could still control. My eyes. When I opened them, I realized that I was the only passenger left on the bus. I was sitting on the rear end seats, and the feeling of being left alone was getting me anxious, despite the fact that I knew the driver was also there. That's when someone else got on the bus. I still have a clear picture of how she looked, imprinted in my head. Black hair, wearing red party dress with matching red high heels. All that color contrasted with her pale skin, making it stand out even more. She kinda seemed unreal. I guess she noticed me staring at her. I had no choice, of course. I still couldn't move, and she was standing straight ahead of me. She turned her head toward my direction. I stopped breathing. Her hair was covering the most of the upper face. What I could see was her lips, as red as her dress and heels, forming the most frightening smile I've ever seen. She came closer. "You can see me?" She asked me repeatedly. Each time she asked, it was in some other voice, as if a different person was talking each time. Terrified, I desperately tried moving my body, wriggling my fingers and toes. Then a sharp pain came from my left toe. The woman had stepped on it with her heel. I screamed in pain. When I came to, people on the bus were all looking at me. It was a dream, and as I screamed in it, I also screamed out in real life. It was an embarrassing moment, but fortunately, it wasn't too long until the bus came to my stop. I checked my left ring toe when I got back home. The pain I experienced in the dream felt so real, but it looked fine. It felt fine. The next morning, my roommate and I got together to do some spring cleaning for the house. I was finishing up in the living room, and I heard my roommate call out to me in an urgent voice. "Come quick." "What?" "Hurry." I hurried to the kitchen, where I'd heard her voice, and ended up kicking a stray stool in the process. I must have kicked it hard. I dropped down, grabbing my foot. My left ring toe had its toenail half lifted, blood spilling all over. I guess my roommate heard. She came to check up on me. "You okay?" "No. Why'd you call me like that? I thought something happened." "What are you talking about?" she said. "I didn't call you." She was in the backyard the whole time, clearing out some trash. I just stared at my toe for a minute, confused. The color of the blood somehow reminded me of something. Last night, the woman in my dream, the toe she stepped on with her heel. Coincidence? Maybe. Probably. Truth be told, I don't want to know, and I don't really care. I just don't want to see that woman ever again. My mom told me this story. When she was a kid, she had nightmares and bad dreams pretty often. One night, she dreamed of her dead grandfather. He was sitting alone in a white background, mumbling throughout the dream, bleeding from his eyes. Mom didn't hear exactly what he was mumbling about, but she said she heard him calling out to his son, that's Mom's uncle, telling him not to go out. A few weeks later, Mom heard the news that her uncle had been injured in a car accident. Apparently, the glasses he was wearing shattered in the crash, some of the debris damaging the cornea in his eyes.